An incident of firing by the Sri Lankan Navy during the apprehension of 13 Indian fishermen in the proximity of the Delft Island was reported in the early hours of this morning. Out of the 13 fishermen who were basically on board the fishing vessel, 2 have sustained serious injuries. I'm told that the number has increased. It's 3 now, and they have been taken to the Jaffna Teaching Hospital, where 3 other fishermen have also received treatment. But having said that, there's 2, ladies and gentlemen, there is a clear pattern of how Indian fishermen have been targeted, and perhaps that is the reason why now you have the Ministry of External Affairs pulling up the Sri Lankan envoy, asking them that what exactly is happening despite the negotiations that were going on. In a short while from now, from the negotiating team of the Sri Lankans, we would be having a guest, the former fisheries minister, also joining us. But first, take a look at this report. What's really happening on the ground and what more details we have on this.
The Sri Lankan Navy has fired upon innocent 13 Indian fishermen near the Delft Island in Pork Strait. The Ministry of External Affairs lodged strong protest against Sri Lanka following the incident. The acting High Commissioner of Sri Lanka in New Delhi was summoned by the MEA to register an official complaint. Concurrently, the issue was also brought up with the Sri Lankan authorities by the Indian High Commission in Colombo. The Ministry of External Affairs has categorically mentioned that the use of force under any circumstance remains unacceptable. The ministry has urged for the rigorous adherence to already established mutual agreements concerning fishing operations in the area. Speaking exclusively to Republic, former Fisheries Minister of Sri Lanka Douglas Devanda also maintained that firing at fishermen remains unacceptable, and it is imperative for new mechanisms to discuss this through.
There are hundreds of people, Indian trawlers, they are crossing the border and doing illegal fishing. Because of that, the wealth of the Sri Lankan Tamil fishermen is affected by that. You can't shoot the people, but there should be a mechanism under the control of these issues. Even recently also, Delhi feels the Sri Lankan should deal with the Tamil Nadu government also. They could have used that opportunity, but they didn't use the opportunity. So they missed the opportunity.
As yet another incident reignites one of the massive friction points between India and Sri Lanka, what are the steps that will be taken to resolve this pressing issue?
Rajitha Senaratne is joining us. He's the former Sri Lankan minister. In fact, he's been part of various negotiations that have taken place between both the countries. Mr. Senaratne, this is a huge cause of concern that you have the fishermen who've been targeted, and this has been on the negotiating table for quite some time. I'm given to understand some questions were also being raised about the role that the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu had to play. What is it that both the countries have not been able to address so far?
Actually, this is a historical problem that there are thousands of fishermen in a very organized way entering our Sri Lankan waters in the northern peninsula. And you know, in the northern province, the main employment and the main economy for the northern province in Sri Lanka is fisheries. So the fishermen are the highest employees in that area. So whatever it affects, that affects the entire economy, the entire population of the northern province. So during my time also we had this problem, but we never used force. It is not correct to use force because India is our the closest friend, and also the Indian fishermen are also our brothers. They are not outsiders. Historically, we are together. So we can never accept using force against the innocent poor fishermen. The fishermen can't do anything. The owners who organize these things. So at that time, when I took aerial photographs to see that like bees are coming. Thousands and thousands of vessels are entering our waters about 2 p.m. That means 2 o'clock in the afternoon together, and they leave 4 a.m. the next day morning. So by that time,
Right.
So huge vessels.
But Mr. Senaratna, the fact here is that you are talking about this because it is, again, disputed to a greater extent, the understanding of it, and that is the reason why there was an understanding. The cooperation between both the nations were basically expected. But despite that, Sri Lanka seems to have taken a hard position on this entire matter. A quick response from you. What's the way forward now?
The way forward is discussion. Last time when I was the Minister of Fisheries, I was invited by the Indian government, and I came to Delhi, and I had discussion with the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
But Mr. Senaratna, is force acceptable? The question here is that you are talking about innocent fishermen who have been targeted. Can force be acceptable at any cost?
No, not at all. Not at all. We can do a lot of things without taking illegal means, like arresting the vessels. I actually contained and I resolved this problem. And even the Indian government accepted, not only the Indian, the then Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, the Chief Minister Karunanidhi, and later when I came to there as the Minister of Health also, as the former Fisheries Minister, I explained to the Prime Minister Modi, he also accepted that formula.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Rajitha Senaratna, for joining us on this broadcast. Now, this is something that is yet to be resolved. And ladies and gentlemen, over the last few days and a few months, we've seen the number of such incidents that have taken place, which is exactly why you have the Ministry of External Affairs finally now stepping in, lodging a strong protest on this entire issue.